Hello everybody. So for today's vlog, I'm going to start it with an admission, and it's an admission of guilt. I've only been telling halfway truths for a long time about something, and it's with a deep sense of shame that I have to admit I am not all the way from Iowa. I am. My mom lives in Iowa. My grandparents live in Iowa. I spent a lot of time in Iowa as a kid, but how do I say this? Part of me is from Illinois. That house behind me is where I grew up. It might look familiar to you if you're a fan of Ren, because when my dad moved out of it, I used it for the album cover of Nostalgia, which is one of my albums. Link in the description, by the way, if you want to grab that. So it looks different now. They did a lot of work to it. Back when I lived there, it was a white house with green shutters. Now it is a brown house with brown shutters. But this was my neighborhood. This is where I did all of my childhood things. I'm gonna take you on a little adventure through the childhood of me. It's kind of weird. It's weird to be here. I spent a lot of time there. The first time I ever fell in love was in that house. The first time I ever had my heart broken was in that house. First, I learned to ride a bike there. It's weird. It was kind of cool to grow up here because my house was prime real estate right across the street from the football field, which was cool because I didn't have to do anything for games and stuff, and then, you know, all the town's kids would always end up at my house. I'm having a hard time like talking about it, I find, because I spent so much time here, and then in 2010, in like the span of just like a month or so, my grandmother died, and then my dad lost the house. And I haven't really been over here since, you know, short of a couple photo shoots here and there. And all of my really terrible experiences in life, all of them happened in this town, and I think that's why I had such a sense of shame about technically being from Illinois. And then I started doing the Forgotten Iowa thing, and in one of the reports that someone did on me, they just said I was from Iowa, and I just kind of went with it, because technically I kind of am. My mom's lived over there for like 20 years now. My grandparents lived there. I spent a lot of my time in Iowa, so it was only a halfway lie, but it was a lie technically. So I'm clearing the air. I'm trying to get over my shame about being from Illinois. Ah, fuck, it's hot. I chose to do this on a day where it's like 132 degrees outside or something like that. This is where I went to elementary school, and it's where I sealed my fate for being A, socially awkward as hell, and B, a outcast, a pariah. I'll get to that word in a minute. My very first day of school here, I felt so abandoned by my mother. She dropped me off for school, and we had this big cargo van, and I was bawling. I didn't want to be around these kids. I just wanted to hang out with my mom, and I felt like she was just leaving me to the wolves, literally. So she had to go get the principal, a bunch of teachers, and I'm running around the van trying to, like, I'm begging my mom, like, why are you doing this to me? I promise I'll be good. I promise. She says it was like the first time I ever broke her heart was that morning. And that was just the beginning of the iceberg of that day, because I went to school. I remember feeling very weird. There was this auditorium where all the kids had to sit, and I'm just sitting there all shy and quiet, hoping no one would talk to me. Nobody did, by the way. And then it got time for recess, and I was having a bad day. And we get put into two groups for a soccer game. And it turns out I'm really good at soccer, or I was at one time very good at soccer. And I was doing really good, and the kids were talking to me, and I was making friends. And I remember I kicked the ball out from this little kid's legs, and I'm running toward the goal, really excited, and I don't hear that these people are screaming at me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? No. And I kicked the thing, and it was like a perfect shot. I remember it so vividly, like the wind took it, it went to the right, and then arched to the left real fast. Goal. And I put my arms up, and I'm like, I did it, guys. I'm the cool kid in school. And then everyone's like, you jackass, you scored a goal on your own net. And from that day forward, I was an outcast. I mean that. Like, I barely had any friends at all from the age of 0 till middle school. And it all started here in this building. Fuck this place, by the way. While we're on the topic of school, this is where I went to middle school and high school. They're the same building, one is attached to the other. And this is where I really began to hate my formal education. I begged my parents at this point for years, like, please let me go to Keokuk school. Please let me go to Keokuk school. They let my sister go to Keokuk school, but for some reason, my dad especially was like, you are not going to Keokuk. Over my dead body, you are not going to Keokuk. So what happened is I ended up having to go here, where there was literally nothing for me. Nothing interested me. There was 2 extracurricular classes. You could do general arts or you could do band. I did band until I was kicked out of band. I'm gonna tell that story. That's the story I'm gonna tell. We're doing our formations, you know, you're going bop, bop, balop, balop. I remember the cadence like it's forever stuck in my head. I remember exactly what it was. And I am high sticking like a motherfucker. Like, I'm sweating my ass off and just like pop, 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 pop. And all the stick snaps in half. And it spins in the air like this, stabs my band director right in the face. Right in the face. He ran up to me with the fury of hell, grabbed my snare drum and tossed it across the field and said, get the hell out of here, you're done. Ended up getting suspended for this, which was a total accident. I got suspended. He swore to the principal up and down, even though the rest of the drummers vouched for me that it was just a break. Told the principal that I snapped the stick over my leg and threw it at his face. Never happened. So I got kicked out of band. Couldn't do general arts because I was already signed up for band. So for the rest of the year, I just had to sit in the study hall. And that was the year where everything kind of broke. Like, I was already breaking, but that's the year that everything broke for me. The other big thing that happened in this school is after Columbine happened, there was literally one student that got called into the guidance counselor's office to talk about their problems. You know, do you feel aggression toward any of these kids? And I was so naive at the time. I was like, yeah, I feel aggression towards these kids. These kids suck. I hate all of them. And like, oh, really? Well, you know about the Columbine incident, right? Like, they singled me out. I was the only one. I'd never even shot a gun in my life. But anyway, so fuck this place. Fuck it to hell. Anyone that has to go here, I am so sorry for. This was prison. This was a literal prison. But I will give a shout out to Mrs. Dione, who was the only teacher that ever gave a shit. Only teacher in my whole high school experience that cared. She used to set up big group projects. She was my English teacher, and she would set up projects where, you know, you could make a movie or something, which was stuff that I did back in the day. The whole Saturday Night Films thing, my channel name for the longest time started because I had a film group with my friends and we called it Saturday Night Films. So this used to be the Lamport Funeral Home, and it is where I received my first kiss ever from a girl. Don't want to say her name. I'll give her first name because it's common. Ashley. That was her name. It's kind of a cute story. I lived down there. She lived down there. Her parents didn't like me, but she did. And I think it made her like me more. And we decided to meet here one night. Like, we were both going to sneak out and we were going to meet here because it was a good middle place between my house and her house. So we did. And when the night ended, I turned around and she just planted one on me. And it was really sweet, really saccharine at the funeral home. Which is, you know, that's an interesting place to receive your first kiss. Especially because I later found out that when my parents conceived me, it happened in a cemetery. Filming. This was the street where we met on. I think we technically met up right there and then kind of waltzed over to the tree back there. You know, the way that relationship ended wasn't with a whimper, but with a bang. Because she was a new kid in school. She was very cute, had these piercing blue eyes and this long blonde hair, and naturally she was pined after by a lot of the other neighborhood boys. And there was a Valentine's Day dance, and I remember spending the whole day getting ready. I went and I got frosted tips in my hair because that was a thing when I was a kid. I got a really nice sweater. I got, you know, khakis. Like, I was feeling real good about myself. And I go and I pick her up, and there's another boy at the house. I'm like, oh, this is weird. She ended up leaving with me still, but then later on that night at the dance, I look over, and the boy that was at her house, she's making out with, like, obnoxiously so. And my response to that was to pick up a chair and throw it at him when the dance was over. I got kicked out of the dance, and that was the end of that. All of my stories are not happy. I think this is why I have shame about being from this place, is I'm trying to think of like happy stories when I go down here, and I'm always like,
you're really not thinking about them.
No, I am. You have no idea. Like, I could tell happy stories too.
Okay, so what's the happiest moment here in Hamilton?
My happiest Hamilton moment?
Happiest Hamilton moment.
My happiest Hamilton moment was probably when I was 19 years old, and I was pining after this girl real hard for a long time. Like, I wanted her so bad, but she was in a relationship, I was in a relationship. We both broke up with our significant others, and I convinced her to come spend the night at my house. And we ended up having like this huge romantic thing over the course of that summer. And that summer was probably like the happiest Hamilton moment. But that's the thing I'm saying, is like, that was a happy story, but it gets so not happy after a while. Like, every happy story I have becomes not happy at some juncture. That's the laundromat. We used to come up here to get sodas or to push each other in the shopping carts, laundry carts or whatever. Or, you know, there was times where we'd shove each other in the dryers and then turn them on and try to get them to... We broke so many dryers. But yeah, so the thing that am I overexposed? It's starting to become evident to me why I carry the shame that I do about being from here, technically speaking, because all of my good memories happened in Iowa, for the most part. You know, I don't have any negative memories associated with being at my grandmother's house when I was a kid. I don't have any negative memories about all the friendships that I had, because they were all in Keokuk. Everything I did here came with a sense of, where the hell am I? I wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. And I watched all these people that I couldn't stand leave. And then it was like they all left, and then it was just me. I feel like I was the last person of my peer group to actually get the hell out of here. I remember when I decided to go, where I went was Chicago. I randomly got on an Amtrak and just went to Chicago. And I remember taking photos of myself piecing out of every single room in that house. And I promised myself I will never, ever live in this house again. Buy living room, buy bedroom. It was like this big triumphant thing. I didn't realize how true that was, but it was against my own will that it happened, because by the time I was done with Chicago, my dad was losing his house. And one thing that has always bothered me is when my dad lost his house, he never told me how close he was to losing it. All of my possessions were still in the house when it was foreclosed on, which means I lost everything. I lost all my childhood journals, I lost all my clothes, all the little nostalgic knickknacks I had, I lost all of them. And I just had to start fresh, you know? I had to start over with nothing.
Enough for you?
That should do it.
862.
Man, they're expensive over here.
Yep.
Fucking $9. So I thought I would conclude this weird little video here with oh, I wish I could swim. Special thanks to Selena for helping me shoot this. Thank you.